President Trump fired back one day after the House voted 420-0 to make the findings of the Mueller report public, insisting there should not even be a report. Here now is Ken Starr, former independent counsel under President Clinton, a Fox News contributor and author of Contempt, a memoir of the Clinton investigation. Good to see you tonight. I want to start with what it looks like when people start to wrap things up. You pass things on to Robert Ray, whom I've had on my daytime show. And so I just want to know, if you're doing things like the lead prosecutor, Andrew Weissman, going on to other things, that was announced this week. But oppositionally, you're putting resources in to fund this probe by Mueller until September. So what does it look like? What did those things mean to you?
Well, it means there's still wrap-up work to be done. Apparently, he is clearly in a phase-down mode. But it takes a while. It takes weeks and perhaps even months to bring everything to conclusion, get all the sentencing done, and so forth. And, of course, he owes this confidential report to the Attorney General. So there's work to do.
So is there any doubt that we're going to get to see that? I mean, did anybody listen to what, at the confirmation hearing, what William Barr said, our new AG, he's been an AG before, so he knows people are going to be listening and writing down his words. And he said, look, I have a good relationship with Robert Mueller. Reportedly, that caught some people in the White House by surprise. And he was sincere about how long they'd known each other and that he fully intended to release it according to rules and regulations. So why 420 trying to get to see it if he already said he'd do it?
Well, it may be because folks are starting to read the regulations, and the regulations bind Bill Barr until he says, I'm doing away with these regulations. The regulations, as you know, Harris, require the special counsel to just present a, quote, confidential report. That's a key word, isn't it? To the Attorney General. Then under the regulations, and these are regulations that have been in effect for 20 years, and they go back to the Clinton years, those regulations then call upon the Attorney General to notify the Congress with an explanation of certain actions that he took. The regulations under which Bob Mueller was appointed do not contemplate a report to Congress. So it's sort of, oh my goodness, we have apparently just not been aware here at the House of Representatives that there really is no genuine reporting requirement. Now, we'll see. The Attorney General is very able. He's got a lot of discretion. All
right. I want to get to this real quickly. March 5th, John Brennan said Mueller's last indictments could come Friday, which that was 2 weeks ago. Let's watch.
I wouldn't be surprised if, for example, this week on Friday, not knowing anything about it, but Friday is the day that the grand jury indictments come down. And also this Friday is better than next Friday because next Friday is the 15th of March, which is the Ides of March. And I don't think Robert Mueller will want to have that dramatic flair of the Ides of March when he is going to be delivering what I think are going to be his indictments, the final indictments, as well as the report that he gives to the Attorney General.
Woo! 10 days ago, former director CIA reading some tea leaves that I must have put in my teapot. I mean, how could he get it so wrong?
Well, it's speculation, and he obviously does not have the gift of prophecy. His prophecy did not come true. And I really do think it doesn't serve the country, the American people, well when people sit around, and I try to avoid making these kinds of, frankly, idle predictions. It maybe gets viewership interested, but it's not a public service.
Interesting. Ken Starr, thank you for your perspective and expertise on this. Good to see you tonight.
Good to see you, Harris.
I want to bring in now Trey Gowdy, former House Oversight Committee chairman, former prosecutor and Fox News contributor now. Trey, good to see you and talk with you, I should say, tonight. You know, that question of what comes next is so important because William Barr will make a decision now, not only about what the public will see, but what Congress will see. Talk to me about the process.
Well, I think it's important for your viewers, Harris, to realize the reason we have Bob Mueller is because the Department of Justice, who otherwise would be handling this, felt like they had a conflict. So Mueller, in essence, worked for the Department of Justice. That is who the report goes to. The only obligation to notify Congress is if he had a recommendation that his supervisor, Rod Rosenstein or Bill Barr, did not follow. So what's going to happen is Barr's going to read the report. I think he is going to want to share as much as he can because Barr understands what I've understood from day one. Mueller's #1 job was to report on what Russia did. The second part of that is with whom, if anyone, did they do it. That's the Democrat focus. That is their obsession. But that was not Mueller's obsession. So I'm sure he will want to share with the intelligence communities this is the way to prepare for 2020 and beyond. And the Democrats can subpoena him. They can bring Mueller to Capitol Hill. But we have 3 separate branches of government. And congressional investigations, do you remember, Harris, when the House Intelligence Committee had to vote to turn over transcripts to the special counsel? They had to take a vote on that. Why didn't special counsel just go get them? Why did they have to ask another branch of government? Because we have 3 separate branches. This report belongs to the executive branch, just like congressional investigations belong to the legislative branch. It's not just classified information, grand jury material, Privacy Act. It's also the fact that the FBI and the Department of Justice do not exonerate people. That is not their job.
Right,
their
they
job
report
is
it.
to indict people.
And
It's really not even to write a report or hold a press conference. What Comey did with Clinton in laying out all the reasons he could have charged her but did not set a terrible precedent for this country. Prosecutors should never do that. Either charge and shut up and go to trial, or don't charge. But don't fail to charge and then lay out all the reasons that you could have and maybe should have.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because in recent days, Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, said that he was going to stay on beyond the point that we thought he would be leaving mid-March. And what he's been saying in recent days, and even sent a letter today of this effect, saying that there should be no details on anyone who is unindicted. What is the significance of that? And maybe it goes along with what you're saying, that if you didn't indict, if you didn't charge, move on.
Well, it is manifestly unfair to name someone, say in a conspiracy indictment, as an unindicted co-conspirator. They can't prove that they didn't do it, and they're not going to be in front of a jury that can determine their lack of guilt. So prosecutors have to be very, very careful naming people in indictments that are not going to eventually stand in front of 12 of their peers and have their peers pass judgment. The other thing about the report, it would not surprise me at all if they interviewed people who said 6 or 7 different things. I mean, that's just the nature of eyewitness testimony. So in a political context, you're going to seize on whichever witness said whatever is most beneficial for you. And you're going to ignore the 5 other people who saw the stoplight was green and not red, which is why when politics and the criminal justice system collide, it is always the justice system that perishes. So I hope he does not. I hope he does not set 200-plus years of precedent in this country about not forcing people to prove their innocence on its head. You can't prove your innocence. The president can't. He's not above the law, but he's also not below the law. And the fact that he is the president does not mean he should have to prove his innocence either. Not
above and not below. Interesting way to put it. Trey Gowdy, I want to play, if we can, a video now that has just come in from moments ago. The ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, as you know, has even said that there was evidence of collusion. Ed Henry and I were just talking about that. I want to just get his first reaction, and then we'll talk more.
I would first argue that the department cannot adopt a double standard and should cooperate willingly. But if it doesn't, we will have to subpoena the evidence. We will have to subpoena Mueller or others to come before the Congress and answer questions, because if there is evidence of a compromise, whether it arises level of criminal conduct or not, it needs to be exposed.
Trey, is he saying that he won't believe this report if it does not show collusion or obstruction of justice or any other kind of a crime, and this president and others will not be indicted, as what we are learning tonight, that there are no further indictments?
Harris, he's the saddest man in the United States of America. Not only did he have evidence of collusion on the president, but you may remember he also said the president may very well be indicted, and he also said he may be the first president who faces the prospect of jail.
How does he get it so wrong, then, if that's the case? We don't know what's in the report, but we know no further indictments. What's he seeing that we're not seeing?
What he's seeing is a strategy to keep this cloud, this Russia cloud, over the administration until 2020. And that's always, I mean, Adam has seen nothing that I haven't seen. So how can two people have such disparate views of the evidence? I never saw any evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, and Adams says he has direct evidence. So, I mean, two former prosecutors who are reasonable people cannot have views that disparate unless you're looking at it through a political prism. Swalwell said that indictments were coming. Remember when he tweeted that out?
Eric Swalwell, California representative, Democrat.
Yes. I mean, he's also on the House Intelligence Committee. So these guys know what the evidence is. They're very disappointed there are no more indictments because they said that there would be. And so they're going to try to drag this out. They're going to try to bring Barr and Mueller over to even though there are no indictments, which is a high standard. You have to prove these beyond a reasonable doubt to convict somebody in this country. But in politics, you just have to throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks. So if they can get Mueller or Barr and start saying, well, this witness said that, and this witness said this, then it's a political win for them, even though it's a loss for the country.
All right, we are just getting word here. Ed Henry, thank you. Attorney General William Barr has left the building right now, and we'll report more detail on this as it happens, but we're telling you things as they're happening in real time. Trey Gowdy, it has been 1 year, 10 months, and including today, 6 days of this investigation. You were still on the Hill, and it is great to get your first response tonight when all this thing began. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
As we continue, Peter Ducey is up in Washington with some info. Peter?
Brett, we've now heard from the top Democrats in Congress. Nancy Pelosi, who recently said that she's not interested in pursuing impeachment proceedings at any point against President Trump, and Chuck Schumer, who said, let's just wait for the Mueller report. So I'm going to read to you from a joint statement from both Pelosi and Schumer. It says, now that Special Counsel Mueller has submitted his report to the Attorney General, it is imperative for Mr. Barr to make the full report public and provide its underlying documentation and findings to Congress. Attorney General Barr must not give President Trump, his lawyers, or his staff any sneak preview of Special Counsel Mueller's findings or evidence, and the White House must not be allowed to interfere in decisions about what parts of those findings or evidence are made public. The Special Counsel's investigation focused on questions that go to the integrity of our democracy itself, whether foreign powers corruptly interfered in our elections and whether unlawful means were used to hinder that investigation. The American people have a right to the truth. The watchword is transparency. And separate from that, Brett, I just spoke on the phone to a key Trump ally on the Republican side on Capitol Hill who said the fact that we found out the report had been submitted but did not instantly find out about new indictments, this lawmaker thinks is a positive step for the president. And again, Republicans seem pleased, at least for now, that the word collusion has not been used by anybody at the Justice Department, even though we don't know what's in the report. Brett.
Yeah, Peter, thank you.